My book is called Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. This hook is in the point of view of Sue Trinder, who is the main character. I think the people who came to Lant Street thought me slow. Slow, I mean, as opposed to fast. Perhaps I was by borough standards, but it seemed to me that I was sharp enough. You could not have grown up in such a house that had such a business without having a pretty good idea of what was what, of what could go into what, and what would come out. Do you follow? You're waiting for me to start my story. Perhaps I was waiting then, but my story had already started. I was only like you and didn't know it. So, the plot is about, this girl named Sue gets adopted by this lady named Mrs. Suxby, who takes in a bunch of, orphan babies for money from people, and they, give her money, and she takes care of all of them. And so Sue, along with all these other babies, they're all raised in this den of thieves, which they call the Borough. And Sue, after she's 16, she's then recruited by a man named Gentleman to steal money from a wealthy heiress, a couple towns away, at this big manor. And so Sue goes into this posing as a maid to gain the trust of the lady, Maud Lily, and convince her to eventually run away and get married to Gentleman behind her uncle's back. And she had already, known Gentleman before because he was a friend of her uncle's. And so Gentleman came up with this idea to steal money from her. And so they planned to steal her money and then throw her into the madhouse to cover their tracks, because Maud's mother was actually thrown into the madhouse while she was pregnant with Maud. So Maud was born in the madhouse and then eventually taken out and sent to her uncle. So this is just a little bit of a background of the characters. So Sue Trinder, she's an orphan turned thief, expert fingersmith, which is what they called thieves. She can't read or write, and she lives in the borough. And then Maud Lily, she's the lady of Briar. She's Mr. Lily's niece. She can read very well and write very well. She's wealthy, and she lives at Briar. She's very wealthy from all of her mother's money. And then Mr. Lily, he is the Lord of Briar. He's very abusive towards Maud, and then he writes books for a living. And he also forces Maud to read his books back to him after he wrote them. And then Gentleman, he's a swindler. He tries to seduce Maud for her money, and he only looks out for himself. Mrs. Suxby, she's Sue's adoptive mother, and she nurses babies for money. So some themes of Fingersmith are deception, identity, love, power dynamics, betrayal, loyalty, blurred lines between right and wrong, societal constraints on women in the 1800s, because this book is set in 1860 London. So Sue, here's just a little bit of a deep dive on some of the characters. So she's a smart, resourceful young woman. She's orphan of her mother, who was believed to be a thief and murderer. Miss Suxby actually tells Sue that her mom was hanged for her crimes. And then she is Miss Suxby's favorite out of all of the babies that she raises in the borough. Despite her upbringing, she is very loyal and compassionate, especially towards Miss Suxby. As the story progresses, Sue has to navigate through various challenges and eventually discover her own identity. So, Maud Lily, she is the lady of this house in Briar. She's an heiress. She's very sheltered, innocent, naive. So when I say sheltered, her uncle just doesn't let her go outside or do anything. I don't know, it's crazy. As the story unfolds, we see her inner strength and resilience. Maud becomes entangled in a web of deception that tests her character and forces her to confront her own motivations. Okay, so her strength and resilience come out when, so this whole sort of deception thing is going on between Sue and Gentleman. And so they're trying to get all of Maud's money, right? Well, it turns out Maud knew from the beginning, and her and Gentleman came up with this plan to bring Sue to Maud to help her escape. And then instead of putting Maud in the madhouse, they're going to put Sue in the madhouse. And then Gentleman and Maud are going to just split the money. So, Gentleman, he is very charming, manipulative con artist. He's always scheming to achieve his own goals. He only looks out for himself. And in this whole arrangement, he makes Maud very uncomfortable. And Sue, this whole time, thinks that she's just nervous to marry him because she's sort of forcing that onto Maud. And so she just thinks she's very nervous, whatever, but it's actually Maud thinking about how much she doesn't want to hurt Sue because they've become friends while Sue's been her maid. And so as we read this book, we find out Gentleman's true intentions and motivations, and they are revealed in very unexpected ways. So connections with this book, a big one is Oliver Twist, and through their exploration of societal issues, deception, and the struggles of characters in the Victorian era, both novels explore the darker aspects of society, highlighting the impact of crime and the challenges faced by individuals from different social backgrounds. In Oliver Twist, Charles Dickens's depicts the harsh realities of being an orphan, poverty, and the criminal underworld. The characters in Dickens' work navigate the society marked by inequality. Similarly, Fingersmith by Sarah Waters explores the lives of characters involved in deception and crime, revealing the complexities of their relationships and the impact of societal norms. So, this is just from an academic point of view. It's not a very hard read. There was a lot of description for the setting and the various feelings and thoughts of the characters. Sarah Waters used slang commonly used in the 1860s. She did portray a very London norm that you would expect from 1860s London. She also changed the dialects for different characters to show their social classes. So Maud spoke really well. Sue sort of struggled, and Gentleman was he did struggle, but he had the act of a true gentleman. This writing style provides good description for images that you can piece together in your head. And I enjoyed how there's one point of view halfway through the book and then it changes to a different perspective. So at the first half of the book is Sue's point of view, and then it switches to Maud. And when it switches to Maud, it goes back to the very first time that Maud and Sue meet. So it's very interesting. So some just final